Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Beatdowns with the Boz. So today we have a pretty sweet deck. This is a deck that Ryochi Tamada played at Worlds, and it's a Band Company deck, which I know you guys have seen a lot of. But one thing that's unique about this one is he plays 4 Elder Deep-Fiend as basically his main trick. And I've been calling this deck Foul Bant because it's also got these 4 Foul Emissaries to not only find your Elder Deep-Fiends, but also to be able to have something to sacrifice to them that also gives you a chance to maybe even get a little bit of value. If you get to curve Foul Emissary into Deep-Fiend, it's really, really good. Like so many of the plays that this deck makes, it's just really good tempo and really good pressure. Elder Deep-Fiend is particularly good in the mirror because the interaction usually comes in the form of Reflector Mage, Dromoka's Command, and Spell Queller. None of those interact particularly well with Elder Deep-Fiend, and it's just way bigger than everything else that you're usually going to face. It's also really nice too because against the Teamer Emerge decks, you can use Elder Deep-Fiend to tap down your opponent's lands, and because it has 6 toughness, it doesn't die to the flashback Kozilek's return. So this version of Band Company is pretty interesting. I'm excited to test it. It has a lot of the stuff that you're used to. There's no Lumbering Falls, which is something worth to note. But you've got the Jaces to flashback your companies, find your Deep-Fiends, generally just a very, very powerful good card. Duskwatch Recruiter, another great one to find the pieces of your mini combo, essentially, as well as just grind people out. And it's also just a good creature on curve. Sylvan Advocate is a beast. It's like the Tarmogoyf of Standard. Nissa keeps the land drops coming and is also just a good source of card advantage. Missing your land drops is like one of the easiest ways to lose in Standard. So whatever you can do to reduce the variance is very, very good. Tireless Tracker, just a great card to allow you to play a lot of lands without flooding out. Reflector Mage, one of the best tempo plays in the format. Collected Company, the best tempo play in the format, although it does come with a bit of a deck building cost. And then that Foul Emissary and Elder Deep-Fiend that I had noted before. In the sideboard, it's basically just the normal Bant cards that the main deck isn't playing. So Bant Company is just such a good deck that I think the main reason that this deck is constructed in the way that it is so that it gets an edge in the mirror, because a lot of people think Deep-Fiend is just so good in the mirror. And then against all the other matchups, you just want to go back to your more normal Band Company deck with Spell Quellers, Dromoka's Commands, and Avacyns. So that's basically the nuts and bolts of the deck. Pretty excited to play it. It's a pretty interesting thing for someone to do in the World's field. May not be the best thing for an open, but for a small, essentially invitational type event where you know your opponents and you have some information about the field. This is a pretty big metagame call, and I'm excited to see how it does just online in leagues. The one other thing I want to note is my camera broke. And I didn't have a chance to get a new one before recording. I didn't realize it broke until just now. So you'll notice that instead of my face, you'll see a Johnny Carl the Pride. Maybe you didn't even notice, because that is kind of how I look. But that is the one thing to note. But I'll have my camera back on for next week. Anyway, let's get to some games. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully we'll have some good ones.